Hey, so I thought I'd give another update. This time I got a microphone. Yay! So it doesn't sound like I'm talking into a potato. It's amazing. We've been living where we're living now for 2 months and three months because we paid rent yesterday. How exciting. So we had been living in Wekiva. We lived there for a few months, but it was just so far from work for both of us. And after we moved, one of our cars died, so we've been sharing the same car. So living an hour and a half away from one of our works and then driving to work with one car, we were getting up at like 5 in the morning, so it's getting a bit ridiculous. So we moved, and we've been living here for 3 months. Rent here is $3.75 a month, and added on to that, you have to add on to utilities, and we have a small rig, and we don't really use that much. We run the AC some when we're here. It's pretty hot down here, so you have to, you're melting. I mean, the days that I've left the house and we don't leave the AC or the fan on, I come back and the peanut butter is liquid. So that's part of what you have to do. But it's utilities usually run about my phone went off. It's a chocobo. $20. It was $25 last month because we had a friend stay with us, which is something I want to mention too. You can see, whoa, behind me there is the loft, and up in the loft is where we had put all our cosplay items and all our costumes that we had made and things in progress, which, even though we got rid of a lot of our possessions, we had to keep. They're pretty important to what I do as a job and what we both do as another job, I guess. On the weekends, we go to conventions and do panels and shows and things like that. So we have to have our costumes anyway. So we couldn't get rid of them. So that's where they had been stored at. But our friend who was in the Navy had 2 months of leave, and he came down here to stay with us for 2 weeks, which we're really excited about seeing him. Very unsure as to where he was going to sleep. So he got down here. We picked him up from the airport, got down here, and he said, okay, where am I sleeping? And sorry. So we had to figure something out, and he's a really good friend, and he's really good at organizing. So he's like, guys, why don't you just buy storage units for outside and move the cosplay stuff out there? So that's what we ended up doing. There were these big black boxes from Walmart with a lock on them that are waterproof, watertight, so we stored all our cosplays out there and sorted. So then the loft is open for him to sleep in. And he stayed here for 2 weeks, which was really cool. But then when he left, you know, we had the loft open, which was really neat. And so we thought, well, you know, we could try staying up there. So that's where we started sleeping. We've been sleeping right up there, which is really nice, I think. Fortunately, my husband and I are both smaller people, I think, so there's plenty of room. And then where I'm sitting at now is a table that was the bed. And I broke the table when we first moved here, or moved into the RV. But Evan fixed it, so now it's a table again. So it's nice, because it's nice to have somewhere to sew and somewhere to eat and somewhere to sit that's not the bed all the time. And there's a little area up there. I think the biggest thing that you have to keep in mind when you're moving into an RV, moving into a tiny house, moving into a small space, is things have to have multiple purposes. You can't have an area that is just, well, except for your bed, I would imagine, because you need to sleep there. That is just one thing. That is just, you know, you see really big houses and they have like a room that is decorated and in case fancy company comes up. You never had a fancy company come over. You might. I don't know. My friend from the military was happy up there in that bunk. He said it was way more room than he had on the boat. So, you know, this is great for us. But it's important to keep that in mind, is to make use of the space that you've got, and that involves reorganizing and shifting and getting rid of things a lot. But I will have to say, this is something that I talked about with my husband. It's not making the transition from living in a room in an apartment, which is where we were living. We were renting out a room in an apartment from there to living in the RV wasn't as hard as we thought it was going to be, honestly. Because we're still paying where we're staying. We're still paying pretty much rent every month. But the benefit of it is if we want to move, we just move. We haven't signed a lease. We haven't signed anything over. We just move and pay somewhere else the next month, which made it so easy to move here. But I would imagine if you're moving... There's my chocobo. If you're moving from a big house down to a little RV, that is a little bit of a good bit of a difference that you're going to have to deal with. Yard sale, donate, get rid of as much stuff as possible. And before you move into your RV, which is something that we did. We're fortunate enough, we just lived in an apartment, like I said. We got rid of everything that we could down to what would fit in our room. Like, all our possessions fit, and we could walk around, and we could live there in our room. And we moved into the RV. First, the things that we knew, we sorted things into 3 piles. This is organization tips for moving into an RV. Sorted things into 3 piles. First pile, things that we didn't need. Things that we thought we needed, we never used, never touched, whatever, into 1 pile. Pile number 2, things that we wanted to keep, but we did not use every day, which was, in our case, the costumes that we use on certain weekends, posters, action figures, some video game systems, computer things like that. We wanted to keep these things, and we knew we'd have room for them in our RV because we figured out where they would go, but we didn't use them every day. The third thing was things we used every day, which is clothes, toiletries, pots and pans. I mean, basics you need. Like, if you were going camping, you would have to take, if you were staying in a hotel, you would have to take, these things. And take the last pile and keep that in the room that you're going to be in and see if you can do it. And go ahead and move the things you want to keep but don't need every day into the RV and put them where they go. Donate or throw away the other stuff that you don't need. Pile number 1. And if you can live on the stuff that you need every day for a week in your room, in the one room, and in the bathroom, please don't. Common sense, I guess. I would hope that you would know that. To give you kind of a safe test run. Now, ours, we did that for about a week, and ours got pushed really far because the apartment, not far, ours got cut short because our apartment contacted us and said, you're not allowed to have an RV on property. So you've got until the morning to move out. So we did. So luckily at that point we had already moved the things we didn't need into the RV, so we just moved everything we needed into the RV and camped out in a Walmart parking lot for the first and second night. Then we went to Wekiva, which I've posted a video of, which is a great place to stay. It's a little expensive for what we needed, but still a great place. Wonderful, wonderful people. Where we're staying is cheaper, and it looks cheaper, and it is cheaper, but it's much closer to where we work, like I said, and I don't go out of here, so my home is wherever my home is, and the neighbors leave me alone, so it's fine. It's totally fine. But the transition is not as hard as I had originally thought. I know that's something that Evan was thinking about. He had plans for a generator. He had plans for solar panels. He's a really good planner. He had written down all these things that might happen that we would need. And it's really just like a mobile apartment. So prepare that way. Prepare that way that you would, that if you were living in a big house and you found out you're moving to a tiny apartment, what would you do? What would you get rid of? What would you keep? And realize, like I said, I think before in the last video, that things are things. That was something that took me a bit to learn. Things are things. If you've got memories and ties associated to a possession, like my great-grandmother gave me this, and she's died. She gave me all these antique dolls. The way that I thought about it, and this is up to you, the way that I thought about it, because that was my situation, was, would my great-grandmother, would my grandmother want me to be like, I have these things I don't know what to do with, and they are encumbering my life, and I can't get rid of them? Or did she give those to me out of love? Because she loved me, and she cares about me. And I still have that feeling. I still know that she loved me, and that she cared about me. But I don't have 40 ceramic dolls. It's hard to do at first, I think. But it's up to you. It's a bit of a transition, and it's not for everybody. I think at work I've told some people that we live out of the RV. I mean, I don't talk about it all the time, but somebody said something like, oh, they were going to give me their couch. Do you have room in your house for a new couch? And I was like, our furniture is kind of built in. So for some people, it's not for them. Fine. That's cool. I mean, I don't personally want a huge house. I really, really like mobility. And like I said, for what we do, go into conventions on weekends and hosting things, being mobile is pretty important. So you have to realize, you have to figure out, I think, why you want to do it. And if it's just because you want to have your own place with cheap rent, great. We've saved a lot of money moving here in the RV, to be honest. So, and we've had a lot of fun. But you can do it if you want to. It's not that hard, not that different.